Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the King of Average podcast. It's your boy BB along with
Medic.
How's your day, dude?
Super busy,
Was it?
but successful.
Okay, cool. So I want to touch upon that. What? Give me a win that you had today.
I got absolutely everything for the whole week that was required out of the business regarding like groceries and labels and containers and stuff like that. So I woke up really early, and since like 7 a.m., I woke up obviously a little bit before 7 to go catch pheasant, but I just was hustling until then. Little by little, man, you feel so freaking accomplished.
That's dope.
That was my dub. How are you, man? What was your dub of today? I like that. The dub of the day.
The dub of the day, dude. My dub of the day was I successfully am 3 out of 3 in clapping mosquitoes. It's crazy, dude.
That is a dub.
I was really happy. Yeah, not all 3 of them. I just flipping. One of them I was chasing around the room. It was this. I was like, my eyes were like this, and I was like tracking.
I feel a little guilty, so I was like reading Quran inside my room just to like prep for.
I don't like where this is going already.
And then like I'm like reading the Quran, and then I'm like mid sentence too. I didn't even finish that. I'm like mid sentence, and I'm like. It's just like running and like.
Oh, I thought you were about to say that you like closed the Quran and killed him.
No.
Bah. No. I was like, you're wild for that one.
I sent him straight to Jenna, bro.
But yeah, I'm 3 for 3, so I was very proud of that. I saw this sick video today. I was like laying in bed when I woke up, and I was just like, man, it was a long weekend, you know. It was a sick video, dude. It was like one of those motivational. I think the channel's called like mindset.masculinity. And the video just comes up, and it's like these images of.
Are you a piece of shit?
Close enough. It was a little bit nicer. It was a little bit nicer. It gave me words of affirmation first before.
Were you laying in bed like that? You're like.
No, it was. It came up and has like all these like images of like these, like the Greek image of mythical beings and stuff like that. Not beings, but like humans, the way they like, overemphasize the muscles and this and that. And it was like, it's funny. I probably listened to it like 80 times. I'm telling you, I got up from my bed like the Terminator. I was just like, and I went to the gym. So it was very successful. I probably did not stop repeating that video until I hit like at least 80 times or something.
Oh, so you kept on, even while you were working out, you kept on.
Dude, so not while I was working out. While I was working out, I was into a Andrew Tate podcast. But
no, do it.
I walked into the gym, and it was funny because I was like, and the girl in the gym, the girl at the front desk, like, hi, how are you? I was like, oh my god, hey, I'm doing well. Right back into it. But I went into the steam room, put on 5-minute timer, and just flipping the entire time. Your physique is a mental manifestation of your. I was like, yo,
you're just dying of breath.
Yeah. Freaking. I was lit, and then I got out.
You only go 5 minutes in the steam room?
Only 5 minutes. I do it in the beginning because I think I explained this to you before, but like,
you get like a heated up or loose.
Yeah, it helps. It helps loosen you up for sure. But you know how they say that ice baths before exercise has a lot more benefit than after exercise? Not necessarily a lot more benefit, but it's preferred because after exercise is going to help with recovery. But if you do it before exercise, that extreme environment on your body, what it will do is it will trigger like a survival state in your mind and in your body, and your body will react. And the whole point of it is that when you're in survival mode, you have a sudden release of testosterone. You know what I mean? Just 3 to 4 minutes in an ice bath. You know what I mean? Your body is like, holy smokes, we're freezing to death, right? So what is it going to do? It's going to completely switch operation, right? And it's going to say, we need to survive. How am I going to survive? Well, we got to start busting out some testosterone because it's going to help keep the muscles alive, right? If this person needs to swim for life, right? The adrenaline's going to kick in, stuff like that. And so in my mind, right, my educated guess through the help of, my lovely degree, I was like, okay, well, I don't have an ice bath at home, but we can take the concept of put your body in extreme measure to achieve a certain reaction, right? So I was like, okay, well, I don't have extreme cold. Well, how about extreme heat? You know what I mean? So that's why I do it before. But otherwise, if it doesn't achieve the same benefit, hey, it's going to loosen me up a little bit. Get the sweat going, right? After that, I do a light warm up and I feel loose and ready to go. So I do it before.
Let's get started.
Let's get done.
The whole thing of today's podcast is going to be don't be quick to judge. Don't do it. Why?
So, I mean, we'll start off by the classic phrase, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me, In most situations, the lack of information regarding the topic, regarding the situation, regarding whatever, the lack of information is going to put you in a position where you're going to look dumb if you jump to a conclusion, right? You stick it to any scenario, right? Any scenario whatsoever. Just a random scenario off the top of my head, back to flipping high school drama, right? He said, she said, blah, 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 blah. It's all just hearsay, right? And it's like, you could sit there and someone could be like, oh, this is what so-and-so said about you. And you can be like, what? And you can make this assumption that that's what they meant. Or you can make an assumption of what their intention was, right? Only to find out that now you're starting to treat that person differently. You're not talking to them anymore because, oh, you're somehow waiting for them to apologize. And the other person on the other end could be like, yo, dude, I wasn't even talking about you in the first place. You know what I mean? But until you until you realize that information, until you find that information out, the entire time you've been dumb.
Why do people assume?
Why do people assume?
Besides it be like, I know like you could probably think of like multiple reasons why people assume. Well, what do you think is like the main reason why people assume?
I think when it comes down to if we were to say the situation as it relates to like drama, I think people love the attention, right? In a way, it's kind of ironic because it's like, oh, they're so upset that somebody said this about them. But in another way, they're like...
They're gassed up.
They're like, oh, someone's talking about me? Oh, this feels good, right? So then you add fuel to the fire. This is what drama is.
It's like Michael Jordan did that a lot, right? He would find small reasons for someone or something he would assume.
To just trigger his anger so that he could, put that in his game.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Not my style.
If used properly.
If used properly, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another reason why I think people love to draw up assumptions is because they unfortunately just have a failure mindset. They have a failure mindset. They sit there and they go, either they say, I'm not capable of achieving something, or what if it doesn't work, or this and that. So what they'll do instead is they'll automatically justify the outcome without going through it. They'll justify that something's going to fail without them putting in any effort. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to put into effort into anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so difficult for us not to chase things that we don't enjoy doing. We don't want to put in time and effort into something.
That, and then also something that has a potential of not giving us anything back in return.
Anything in return, absolutely. Yeah. So instead of going through the work, instead of trying to figure it out, which is the annoying thing to do, the difficult part of things, they just drop a quick assumption, they draw a conclusion, they go, I'm not even going to try.
Because it's easy.
It's
the easy route. Assumptions doesn't really require much effort.
So let me ask you the question.
I answered it. I think people assume.
Are you gay?
People assume.
Yes. People do assume.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, man, I get hit on by gay guys way too much, bro.
Dude, shout out Ray.
Screw you, Ray. You probably not gonna listen to this. You freaking.
We'll send him the clip.
Yeah, we should.
We'll send him the clip.
No, this guy one time legit just cussed me out. This guy was in freaking Atlanta. I was at the market.
Yeah.
So he sold someone, like another vendor that he's cool with, to go ahead and tell me, like, just completely just cuss me out. So the vendor, who I barely know, just comes up and is like, hey, before I say this, I just want to let you know that Ray told me to tell you this. You piece of big bop. And I'm still like, okay, is that all? He's like, yeah. He just walks away. and I just voice note freaking Ray. Where's my phone? God dang it.
There's his phone.
Yeah. No, I voice note him back right away. But in all seriousness regarding the whole assumption, right? It's way too easy, man. It's just, why put in the effort? Why break your mind in order to actually critically analyze the situation, think about something, when you could just assume it, right? I'm not good at this. I'm not good enough to go talk to that one girl. I'm not ready. I'm not this. I'm not that. That's easy. But for you to actually do it and find out for yourself, no, man. That's when your ego might get hurt. And the extremities that we're willing to go through or to get to in order to not put in effort or to not actually try in this life is kind of crazy, because we end up putting more effort to not put in effort to reach a result than to actually reach a result. We'll try everything to not do something instead of just doing it.
Yes. Here's a fun question. What are some typical assumptions people have of you?
Standoffish. I feel like because I'm tall, and you're going to say the same thing about yourself, is I can be intimidating at times. And the second they see me, same thing with you, they're like, I never knew that. You're actually a pretty cool person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the main thing. But for the most part, we were talking about this on a Saturday, right? Eamon was like, oh man, if only I was 6'5", I would have been a billionaire. But then we talked about it, and being tall does...
Very good assumptions.
Being tall does give it like a huge presence. Like, it is an advantage in a way, because people look at you differently, but then also they automatically give you some sort of respect, a little bit more. And believe it or not, you're more trustworthy as a tall person, as opposed to say if someone's like 5'6", 5'7", assuming that they're a male as well, they're gonna look at them like shady for no good reason.
But I feel you on that. The assumption that most people have of me is they think I was the 20th hijacker rather, but I just missed the flight.
Probably because you were late to it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, people were just like, yo,
bro, you said 9, bro.
Oh man. But yeah, definitely intimidating. I think the funniest thing in the world for me was when I asked two different people. So what it was I was texting someone, and then I was like, yo, what was your first impression of me? And they were like, intimidating at first, but then blah blah blah. And I was just like, you know what? I'm kind of pissed off at that,
Mm.
And so I went out of my way to text somebody else, right? Completely in a different, almost a different time zone from the first person who answered the question, right? There is no way on earth that these people have ever met, right? Or that they know each other, or that the chances of them even meeting each other is slim to none. Cool? And I was like, yo, quick question. They're like, what's up? What was your first impression of me? And word by word, on God, I can find the text messages somewhere from both. Both responses were exactly intimidating at first, but then you realize you're just a goof. I got really pissed off. I'll tell you what, 4 years later now, I've accepted it with open arms.
You are a goof, though.
And I think it's the best thing ever.
It is.
I actually really love it.
No, I mean, I feel like we talked about this before about taking life way too serious. What a life to live, man. It's not a life I want to live at all.
I feel like I do sometimes take life way too serious.
I feel like we do, though.
Yeah.
It's situational.
It is.
Just like being goofy should be situational at all. At times, I mean, it shouldn't be like you just got in an accident and something's happening or something serious, and besides it being grim like that, something serious is happening, and you're just like, woo, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? What?
We don't have I love how Goofy turned into a wobbly piece of steel.
Yeah, that was actually really good. But yeah, man. But to kind of go back to things, man, is like when people judge, it's one of the things that we all do, and we're all could be at some sort of fault or some sort of blame for it because it's just who we are, man.
Here's a question. What do you think overall of like just judgments in general?
I think it's like yin and yang,
Okay.
right?
Understand.
I think that when you judge something, that sparks some sort of curiosity, whether it be a person or a situation. Because in order for you to think about something and put a little bit more thought into it, you have to have some sort of like curiosity to it. So when you judge something, I feel like you're at least some sort of curious, whether it be a girl, whether it be a situation like a job interview or a position or anything else. There's some sort of curiosity. There's one small part of you is like, I kind of want that, or I could see myself doing that, or I could see myself. There's some sort of curiosity. So like it's an interesting way to think about it, right? But when you judge something, it's like you think about it and then you make that judgment.
Mm-hmm. So do you think judgment?
Judgment could be healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Judgment is very instinctual.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you look at a cliff, right? And you're like, I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
I probably should wear better shoes.
I probably should tell my parents. Like, I don't know, something. But like what I'm trying to get to though is like you have that intuition.
Uh-huh.
And when you have an intuition about someone, it's many times it's real, many times it actually happens.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost kind of falls under that whole thing of there's a fine line between being judgmental in a negative way and then just listening to your intuition about a person.
Right. What I was trying to get at really is just judgment is natural. And judgment is very, very okay. It's very okay. The issue then becomes when you take that judgment and you begin to act upon it. That's in my opinion, the way I see it. Because you could sit there and, you know, like, no disrespect, somebody could walk in and your mind automatically, naturally will just start making judgments about this person, right? But what ends up happening is if you look at someone and they look like a bum, let's just say, right? They're not well dressed. They're not well kept, you know? They walk in and you're just like, okay, I'm not going to waste my time with this person. Let's say you're at work or whatever. Like this person's probably looking for a handout, yada, yada, whatever the case is.
They want free samples. They're just going to waste my time.
They're just going to waste my time,
They end up
you know?
buying like $100 worth of stuff. And you're like,
Yeah.
I love you.
So it's one of those things where it's like you can have those judgments about the person, but if you're going to sit there and start to treat the person a certain way based on those judgments, you're the piece of crap.
Okay, on the flip side, we're talking about judging people, right? On the flip side, imagine people judging you,
Mm-hmm.
and they go up to you and they say they're just spilling all that insecurity and all those false assumptions that they made to you.
Uh-huh.
But then the second, without even telling you that they have all these like, you know, assumptions about yourself.
Yeah.
But you're smiling, you're very goofy, you're very easy to talk to, you're actually very intellectual, and you could see the person's like reaction. Oh, like that small like smirk, like I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
Like this person is actually decent.
Yeah. Actually, I think I live for those moments internally, of course. You know what I mean? Like I don't, but there's a couple that I can highlight. But
I like how like you understood what I actually said.
I lived for those moments, dude. Are you kidding me? There was our senior year in high school. By the way, it was our senior year in high school. We got a new new president. We got a new principal, right? It went from like this older lady, kindest woman ever. She was so nice. But so she retired. We got a new guy, and I don't remember much of him because obviously I only had him for 1 year. But I just remember, you know, I was a very, you know, loud personality, right? I wasn't necessarily like involved, but I was very involved. You know what I mean? Everybody knew me. I was just, you know, I could run back and forth across campus.
It's kind of hard not to be involved.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So
for like someone like you.
Yeah, very loud personality, whatever the case is. And very similarly, when you do have a loud personality, people automatically they just put you on a lower degree for some reason. You know what I mean? They just take you down a notch, right? And I'll never, never forget this moment because I always had like this curiosity, like, yo, dude, why is this guy like, why does he like throw these jabs at me? Like little subtle hints of disrespect, He would always throw like these subtle jabs at me, like subtle jabs of disrespect.
Like what?
You know what? It was just kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't necessarily remember a lot of it, but it was one of those things where it's like, if we're in the same room and I would start talking, he would immediately find a way to shut me down. You know what I mean? It was immediately like, if I started talking, he would redirect his attention to somebody else because it's like, you're already talking too much. You know what I mean? It was subtle things like that. You know what I
I
mean?
feel like he was like humbling you.
Not, I wouldn't say humbling me, but it was, okay, maybe he was, right? But it was humbling me on the false pretense of
You being a bad kid or you actually being a bad guy.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Troublemaker.
It was like, yeah, I was a troublemaker. That's what it was. And I remember one time, for some reason or another, I had to go to the administration office to get something done. I forgot what it was. And he was standing right there in the middle of the office, in the middle of the building, and he was talking to someone. And the way how close they were standing to like door or whatever, it would have been very casual to just be like, oh, excuse me, and like just walk through their conversation. And it wouldn't have come off as disrespectful because it's like the position they were standing in, how close they were to the door. It's almost like the logical thing to do.
They were in the way.
They were in the way, right? But I did this thing where it's like I walked in, I assessed the situation, and like I did like this slick maneuver where I was like, whoop, whoop, went behind him. And like, so I like, quickly just shuffled to my side.
The dude falls down.
Break his ankles. I shuffled to my side. I shuffled around him. And then I just turned off and walked, right? And then I noticed, when I was doing that, obviously because he saw me walk into the room, he was looking for an opportunity to say something, right? So he was just observing me as I'm going around him. And he kind of just like made like a funny face, right? And then he kind of just looked at me and was like, what was that about? And I was like, oh, it's just really disrespectful to walk in between people when they're having a conversation. From that moment moving forward, that you could tell that man put me on a different level. On a different level. You know what I mean? And it was one of those moments where I'm telling you, it's so hard for me to forget because I genuinely cherish it because it was a moment where it was almost like that dude had to think to himself, he's got good parents. You know what I mean? He had to think to himself, maybe he's not a piece of crap like I thought he was. Maybe he wasn't the 19th hijacker, 20th hijacker. I keep getting this number wrong. But anyways, yeah, it was.
Wait, how do you even know the number?
Don't assume. A lot of videos have been coming up about like conspiracies and stuff like that around it. And for some reason, I think 9/11 is like the only conspiracy.
Well, it is September.
It is. Yeah, of course. That's why it's coming up. But like, I feel like I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? I just like truth. But for some reason, the amount of digging that people have done with the whole September 11th situation, for some reason, I just enjoy watching it. And so they keep, obviously, 19 hijackers. And, probably one of our 4 viewers could be like, it's actually 18, you idiot. You know what I mean? But whatever the case is, that was one of the moments where I was just like, I just remember it so vividly, and I enjoyed that moment a lot. But yeah, moving on. Okay, a negative thing about making assumptions, being too quick to judge, is when you are that type of person, depending on the situation, it will definitely take you down the wrong path, right? And what I mean by that, it's a domino effect.
Your actions follow your judgments.
Your actions 100% follow your judgments, and it becomes a domino effect where it's like, because of your assumption, not because of the facts, because of your assumption, you decided to act this way, right? And so later down the line, you've closed all these opportunities, you've closed all these doors, right? Because of this assumption that you made, because of this judgment that you made. Next thing you know, you're making life decisions based on that assumption.
And also, when you make like a negative assumption, you're trying to find any reason to make it true.
Right.
You try to look for anything. Like that guy, right? He was looking around. Like, there's no reason for him to constantly give you looks.
Yeah, like I'm walking by, just whatever, move on,
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But he was like, he actually noticed you, and he's like, I need something to say right now.
That's 100% how I saw it. Yeah. But yeah, so you'll start developing bad habits because of that negative assumption, right? And the next thing you know, you have this domino effect which triggers down, and then all of a sudden, your life is moving a certain direction that you don't want it to be, right? You've developed bad habits that you never signed up for. And more often than not, if you are the type of person who takes those judgments and run with it, like you said, you're going to justify it all. You're going to justify the lack of opportunity. You're going to justify the bad habits. And not for a single second will you take accountability in saying all of this is a direct result because of the assumption I made earlier.
Sometimes you look at people and you're like, I don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about you. You've never said anything to me. You've never done anything wrong to me. But for whatever reason, I'm not comfortable around you.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is like you get those feelings of like, I don't know what it is about you, man, but I just don't like you, or I'm uncomfortable around you. So you're gonna try to look into like the whole thing of like, you're gonna try to find something. That was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? This person is bad. So in my mind, anything that they say, regardless of how good it is, you're gonna try to find the bad in it. So that can then lead you on to like a lingering effect of just, whenever you find something about someone that you don't like, you're like, I knew it. It's like, fam, look at yourself. How about you? How do you present yourself? Or like, how good does that make you feel to be judged by others? And it's a very humbling experience, because like, when you think about things from the other side, basically you self-reflect and you're like, I don't like that. I don't like how that makes me feel when someone's looking down on me and they didn't even give me a chance. Then I'm like, it almost kind of like humbles you and it snaps you back into reality and be like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of was like my question in the beginning, like, why do people judge? Why do people assume, right? And it could be for a number of things. Our upbringing, it could be our culture, it can be a lot of other things, right? Whenever like how our parents dealt with other people, strangers, and just things like that, and stories that you've heard from them about, oh, this person did me dirty, or this person wronged me or something. So eventually you start moving like differently when it comes down to it. So like, I think like when it comes down to that, it's comfortable. Making assumptions is very comfortable because you want to be right. You feel like you're right and you're stubborn. You're like, it has to be right. I feel it. But I feel that's why I brought up the whole intuition part. There's a difference between the whole insecurity part of like, do I actually feel this way? Or do I really feel this way?
Or do I know better?
Which is hence the intuition.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. You brought that. That's a great point to bring up. To run back to that question, crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's very common that people will make judgments, will make assumptions 100% based off their insecurities. Right. And typically, I feel like for situations, you use your intuition. For people, using your intuition could have more of a negative effect rather than positive. When you're judging people, I feel like that usually comes from a place of insecurity. Where in situations, yeah, intuition should be your go-to. You should judge based off of experience, and I think it's really interesting because like, the whole idea that you brought up about like lingering false assumptions, if someone like tells you about someone, but they only say all these negative things about them, you already start creating this assumption in their head, like, oh, I don't like that person based on what this person said. Right. Which is very common. I feel like it's a very natural reaction as well. What I think is really interesting is the opposite, how if someone comes up to me and they're like, let's say if you came up to me, but if someone comes up to you and they're like, oh, that person right there, blah, 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 X, Y, Z, yada, yada, negative, right? My immediate reaction is like, what's wrong with you? What is it that you're trying to hide? Like, it makes me start thinking negative of the person who's talking, because immediately I assume like, yo, dude, why is that coming? Like, what insecurity is that coming from? But I think it's interesting to think about where it's like, judgments of people usually will come from a place of insecurity, but judgment of situations needs to come from a place of intuition.
Well, it's different though, because like if someone's talking crap about someone, they might be right about them, right? And it's not because it's like it's an insecurity of theirs. It's like I've done business with this person, or I've had this situation. I was once cool with this person. I actually got to know this person, and this is how they really are.
Yeah.
Then that, in my eyes, is good, right? Not good enough for me to be like, all right, I'm never gonna talk to that person that they're talking like that. They're just kind of warning me about, but I'm gonna keep my wits about this person. I'm gonna be very mindful, and I'm gonna be on high alert, because last thing I want is to get screwed over when someone else warned me about someone. So, like, I guess the whole thing of like, it's and going back to it, man, it's when you judge someone and you assume the worst about someone, and then the best case scenario happens, and it's like, this person is an amazing person. Why the hell did I ever assume this? You start feeling bad about yourself. And we always want to feel like we have a good sense of judgment. And I feel like that's almost like a false thing that we all have, right? So like, I personally think I have a pretty decent judgment. Like my judgment on people or on situations, I personally think that it's not always spot on, but it's not always spot on. But many times I walk away from that and I'm like, thought so.
I'll be honest, there's actually a few situations where you're, because I've known you so long, we've been like, we've done so many things together. There's a lot of situations where your initial judgment versus what you think of the person now is completely different. A few situations, and I could just name two right off the bat.
Yeah, I think we already talked about one.
Did we?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later. But I think there is a it's kind of like piggyback off of that. I think there's a benefit in giving the benefit of the doubt in regards to situations, and especially in regards to people. Because I'm a big fan of like the idea that nobody's gonna pay my bills at the end of the day, right? So at the end of the day, if I make a new social connection, if you introduce me to somebody, I'm never going to place that person on a level in which I'm dependent on them. I'm never going to place my emotional dependency on anybody. I'm not going to place my financial dependency on anybody, my spiritual dependency, none of that, right? So even with all of my existing relationships that I have now, there's always this idea lingering in the back of my head where it's like, cool, man, I might like this person, I might love this person, right? But at the end of the day, they're not going to hold my hand in life, right? And so with that being said, if you're introducing me to someone and you start off by giving, the negatives about that person, my instinct is only going to start by giving them the benefit of the doubt. Why? Because at the end of the day, whether you're right or wrong, that person is just another person. They have no ability to affect my life in any way.
And if you're going to warn someone about someone else, right, it's really good to kind of like properly voice it, right? To properly bring it up to someone. An example would be like, if I want to talk to you about John Smith, right? I'm like, yo,
I flipping hate that guy,
dude, screw John.
Honestly.
But when it comes down to it, I tell you, hey, look, I had this situation, I had this or this and that. I'll let you basically like
be advised.
Be advised. It's on you though. Just stay aware. That's all it is. I'm not be like, oh, don't you dare. Don't even waste your time, man. It's horrible. It's this. At the end of the day, you are your own person, and you need to make that own assumption or that own judgment by yourself.
Yeah.
About that person.
And yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like that's especially if you really come off strong and you don't kind of like finish it off with that opportunity for them to go find out themselves, and you're just like, no, this person's XYZ, blah 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 blah. That's how you raise racist kids. But giving the benefit of the doubt to situations, I have a funny story. I forgot what it was. It was either at Golden West or Cal State, whatever the case is. Um, it was scholarship season, right? And I forgot who it was, but they were basically making the rounds saying, hey, everybody, no matter who you are, even if you're not involved, whatever the case is, go apply to as many scholarships as possible. You don't know what you might win, right? And to drive that point home, they brought up a story. What was the story? It was a story about how there's this one specific scholarship. It's a scholarship in which the prompt was, what challenges do you face as a woman? What challenges in life, in school, what are some things that, you know, are kind of like hurdles in life that you experience as a woman? And so, you know, the typical reaction, if we're scrolling through scholarships, we read prompts, right? The person the year prior who won that scholarship, there was only one applicant for that scholarship the year prior. And so obviously they won. And that one applicant was a man. Why?
Because men never better.
I mean, don't say the obvious here, you know, we're making assumptions. But no, because he literally sat there and he was just like, so the way they tell the story was he was like, you know what, I'm going to take a stab at it anyways. I'm not going to draw up a conclusion. Chances are he was just clowning and he actually won it, right? Whatever the case is. But it truly is a scenario, even if he was trolling.
Imagine his reaction to it. Like, he opens up the mail, he's like, oh, I completely forgot about this. What the hell are they going to tell me? Congratulations, here's $10,000.
I wouldn't, dude, I don't think I would let that go ever. If I won that scholarship, I would
write that down on my resume.
I will. That's good. That's resume worth. Instagram, Mustafa Bibi, traveler, blah, blah, blah. I won a women's scholarship.
I won a women's award.
Yeah, so giving the benefit of the doubt to all situations and to all people, I know it's a healthier way to go about life. It's a much healthier way, you know, because it's not going to hold you back from trying new things, right? It's not going to make you justify your insecurities, right? And then you can expand on them and you're going to go into this dark place and you're going to start making these assumptions, you know, about, you know, types of people or whatever the case is, right?
You're not going to be interested in getting to know the person.
Yeah. And I like what you started with there. You're not going to be interested in the finer things in life. You're not going to be interested in improving your life.
Then thus you're selling yourself short.
Absolutely.
Because who knows, this person might be the reason why you succeed.
Or this situation or this job or, you know, moving to a town Midwest. Most of us would be like, that's a horrible idea. But it could be a good idea. But I still think it's a horrible idea.
That's really random.
That's a judgment I definitely would not let go.
All right, guys. And I think with that being said, this has been another exciting episode of the King of Average podcast. Thank you so much. My name is Matic.
It's your boy BB.
And then we're going to hit you off with that. Basically, that ceremonial piece. Peace.